Okay, it's going. There we go. Alrighty, good morning, you guys. I was just telling my class that I talked to Mrs. Ellens, and yesterday after she played the Bible video, she immediately went into review mode. And she started asking the kids questions and throwing pennies because she could tell, even during the video, who was listening and who was hanging out with the Care Bears up in the clouds. All right? So unless those Care Bears, okay, are Egyptian Care Bears in Egypt with the Hebrews, we shouldn't be hanging out with them. Alrighty? So buckle your seatbelts, please. Alrighty, we are going to be cruising at an altitude of approximately 35,000 feet today. It is approximately 11 hours of air time to Egypt, to Cairo. So get cozy. You're going to be on the airplane for a while. If you want to watch a movie about the Care Bears, you may. But once we're in Egypt, we're in Egypt. Okay, so let's review what we talked about yesterday. Alrighty? Joseph has died. All right? Many of his brothers have died. His father has died. And a new Pharaoh has come to power. And what doesn't this Pharaoh know or care about? Estella.
What Joseph has done.
What Joseph did. He doesn't know who this Hebrew Joseph was. I don't know who that is. He saved people from a famine. Okay, well, that was a long time ago. I don't care anymore. All I see is a bunch of Hebrews living in my land. And if those Hebrews decide one day that they're stronger together, they're going to form an army, and they can probably take us to battle and maybe win. Okay, very good. So he puts them to work. And that's going to be one of my first pictures here today. Pharaoh puts his people to work. I already threw Titus a penny this morning because he is my light person, so he's getting a really good workout. Up and down, up and down, up and down to turn the lights on and off, on and off. So I threw him a penny as payment for all of his work. All right, one of the things that the Israelites or the Hebrews had to do in Egypt was to build bricks. Or to make bricks. And with these bricks, you could build temples. Now, after the lesson yesterday, I was talking just with my own class, and the question was asked about, well, they built God's temple? No. A temple is simply a dwelling. All right, it's a place, all right, a holy place where your God can live or dwell with you. Temples are for any gods. Yes, Solomon built our God's temple. But the Egyptians also had temples for their gods. All right? King Solomon, after he built God's temple, it says he married pagan wives. Pagan wives are wives who do not worship our God. They worship idols. And then he made their gods temples. So gods had temples. And that was one of the things that they would have been building in Egypt. And they would have been building other communities and buildings for Pharaoh. Can you sit still, please? Okay, that's very distracting. So here's a picture of bricks and stones. And there's a reason that I took this picture because our rabbi, our teacher in Israel, was talking about the difference between bricks and stones. And I actually did this with my class yesterday after the lesson. We were looking at more pictures and we talked about this. So my class will be able to kind of help you guys who are watching understand. But I asked the question, what are some of the differences that you see in the bricks, between the bricks and the stones? So those of you who are watching, all right, I want you to really look carefully. What are some differences that you see between the bricks and the stones? All right, some answers that my kids said yesterday was, well, the bricks are dark and the stones are a lighter shade. The stones are rounder and the bricks are more rectangle. All right, and then we took it a little bit deeper. So I'm going to see if any of my kids can remember. All right, the biggest difference And that's the difference I want to talk about today between the bricks and the stones is what, Tegan?
That like all the bricks are the same and all the rocks are different.
Exactly. Tegan said all of the bricks are the same. They're all made exactly the same. So when you have a brick, you're going to have a mold. Okay, so imagine if mommy makes Jell-O, all right, and she pours the Jell-O in a mold, and then it takes the shape of whatever that mold is, all right? So you would have a mold, and you would pour the clay, okay, or the stone, the sandstone and stuff in there, and it would get firm, and then you're going to make a brick. It would pop out, and it would be a brick. And all of those bricks are going to be exactly the same. And in a way, that was Pharaoh's way of telling all of the Hebrews, you're bricks. You're all exactly the same. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing important about you. Okay, you work for me. You're just a bunch of bricks. Nothing special, nothing pretty, nothing important. You're bricks. But God, okay, Jesus himself in the New Testament, when Jesus is preaching, he calls us living stones. Living stones. And we, as living stones, make God's temple. So here you have Pharaoh who's trying to give the message to the Hebrews, you're not important. You're not special. I don't care about you. As long as you work for me, I don't care about you. Nothing special about you. You're a brick. You're just like everybody else. Whereas Jesus, okay, our Lord and Savior, our God is saying, you're not bricks. You are living stones. You're all different. You're all special. You're all unique. And I use all of you to build my temple. And Jesus is the cornerstone. He's the stone that we're all built on because we believe that Jesus is our rock, our foundation. Correct? So right here, okay, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus is even born, the Hebrews, God's chosen people, are being told, you are not special. You are not important. You guys don't even have your own king. You don't have your own land. You don't have your own leader. Okay? No one cares about you. And already God's plan is in motion because God is saying, yes, you are. In Egypt, Pharaoh might think you're not important, but you are my people. You are my living stones. And together you build my temple. Alrighty, so let's move on. Oh, I gotta put this back up. Penny boy. There we go. So we talked yesterday about a very important body of water in Egypt. It's the longest particular body of water in the world. Okay, and what is that body of water? Waylon?
The Red Sea.
Try again.
Jordan River.
Try again. Estella?
The Nile.
The Nile River. Okay, the Nile River flows through Egypt, and every year that Nile River floods. And when the water goes back into its banks, it leaves behind little mounds. Oh, very good. Little mounds of dirt. Okay? And those are called ben-bens. Right? And out of those ben-bens sprouts plants, sprouts life. Okay? And it grows and it grows and it grows and it gets thicker and it gets more lush. And they have a great harvest every year because the Nile River brings life to Egypt, living things. Okay, those plants that grow. The Nile River also is going to take with it all of those stones. They're going to use the Nile River as a way to transport and move all of those large stones that they're going to need to build things. Remember, they don't have cranes. Okay, they don't have forklifts. They don't have all that special equipment that construction workers have, Strumler gravel and Excel. Okay, they don't have any of that stuff. So they have to use their hands. That was one of the biggest things that my class was fascinated about yesterday, Jake, was all of those hieroglyphics and all of those carvings that were in the temple are all done by hand. All right, someone doesn't use a laser, to cut the stone out. They put it in a computer and then a laser machine, okay, cuts all that out. Oh no, that's all done by hand. Okay, so now let's see if you guys know this one. Mrs. Allen's class did a really good job with this.
There it is. I know what that. Oh, I know what this.
What is it called? Raise your hands. What is that called?
Cartouche.
Sister, yes! I'm impressed. A cartouche. Okay, that is called a cartouche. And in that cartouche, we are going to put the goddess, okay, a female god, the goddess who brings balance and order to Egypt. What was her name? Blakely. Give it your best guess, honey. Do you remember how it's spelled?
Starts with an M.
It does. It does start with an M. Okay, you're close, Vance. You're getting closer. Yes. Oh, you guys are good. Okay, I hope that Miss Hahn and Mrs. Ball and Mrs. Allen's class, that you guys are answering this with us. Okay, Ma'at. I know that might be hard to see on the camera because I can't even really see it from where I'm standing. Okay, Ma'at. And Ma'at was the goddess who brought balance and order and peace to the people of Egypt. Therefore, if Ma'at is pleased, then Egypt is balanced. There's order. There's peace. But if Ma'at is not pleased, there's disorder. There's unbalance. You guys are awesome. There's chaos. There's chaos. We learned about chaos in the garden. We don't want chaos. And so the Hebrews, by watching the Egyptians and how everything they do is to please and honor their gods, our God, our true God, is trying to teach them. That's what you need to do for me. You're not going to do it for hundreds of gods. You're going to do it for one God. So the Israelites have learned that if Ma'at is happy, there's balance, there's peace, and there's order. Okay, inside this cartouche. But if you step outside,
It's chaos.
there is chaos. Once you get outside the cartouche, there is chaos. And where there is chaos, it's bad. So here we go. Last picture before we jump into today's lesson. Titus?
It's the.
You guys probably know what I'm going to do.
It's the cartoon.
Nope.
It's where the Nile River. Oh yes. The green. I know it.
Okay, that's a pretty good picture. So you can see the Nile in the background. Okay, so this green symbolizes your cartouche.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there's peace and there's order there because look at all the crops. It's green. Okay, they have a home, they have jobs, they have food, they have protection. Okay, everything is balanced, everything's in order, everything's peaceful. But the second you get outside of that, you have chaos, or as we like to call it,
Chaos.
wilderness.
Yeah.
The wilderness. Alrighty, so God's people. Can you sit right here, please, honey? Pick up your chair, please. Okay, pick up your chair. Stand up, please. Right here. Thank you. Alrighty. It is now time for God to let his people leave Egypt. All right, they're going to leave Egypt. I'm actually going to turn this off right now. All right, and Titus, let's get the lights just because I'm looking at the camera and I think it's going to be easier. There we go, that's better. Alrighty, it's time for God's people to leave Egypt. So basically, God just sends an airplane, a skywriter that says, you are free to go. Pack up your things, get on the plane and let's go.
They didn't have planes.
No, Estella, they didn't have planes. Okay, well, that's also, even if they, had camels, is that how God asked them to leave?
No.
No. Okay, so God, no, they didn't just walk out. They didn't know. They didn't just wake up one day and leave Egypt.
They had to pack. No. Everett.
Everett said they had to pack. Yes, but that's not what I mean. God sent a deliverer. God sent someone who had to go to Pharaoh and say to Pharaoh, "Dear Pharaoh, it is I, your former brother and friend, and I need a favor. I'm going to need you to please, pretty please, let my people leave." Is that what happened? No. Okay, so hands down. Already. Now, you guys already know that Moses at one point was a prince of Egypt. Moses was a Hebrew who should have died as a young boy. But he didn't because his mother did not want to, refused to have him killed. Refused to just throw him into the Nile River to drown, which is what Pharaoh had said all Hebrews had to do when they had baby boys. Because baby boys grow up to be men, who grow up to be soldiers, who grow up to fight. Exactly. Very good. And Pharaoh said, "I ain't having it." So all those Hebrew boys, throw them in the river. Except for this little boy, Moses, who was put in the river, but in a basket, who ended up at Pharaoh's palace and was then raised in the castle, or in the palace, sorry, not castle, in the palace by Pharaoh's daughter. So Moses would have grown up along with Pharaoh's son, possibly, okay, and had a place in the palace. So just like the story of Joseph, God has taken something that could have been very bad and is using it for something very good. Now fast forward, okay, Moses realizes who he is. He is not a true Egyptian. He is a Hebrew. All right, we know that Moses killed an Egyptian worker and then ran. Very similar to Jacob. After he tricked Esau, he fled. He ran. Many years go by, and God appears to Moses in a burning bush and says, "Have I got a job for you? You, Moses, are going to go back to Egypt, back to that land that you ran from all those years ago. And you are going to go stand before the man that you know as Pharaoh. And you are going to ask him, demand him to let my people go." And Moses, okay, he didn't just jump right in and say, that sounds like a blast. Sure, I'm going to go back to the place where I murdered someone, and I'm sure nothing bad's going to happen. I'm sure Pharaoh's just going to turn those people right on over. No problem. This is going to be easy. Nope. First thing Moses said was, "I'm not qualified. I don't speak well. I am not a good speaker. If you want someone to have to go stand before Pharaoh, you're going to need someone who's really good with words, who's really good with talking. That's not me." But guess what, boys and girls? God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Do you know what that means?
No.
God doesn't go and choose the person who's the best speaker and the best looking and all of that, who has the best list of things that they can do. Instead, God calls who he wants and then makes sure that that person has what they need to do the job. And that's what he did with Moses. God said, "I am who I am. I am the great I am, and I will be with you. I will give you the words to say, but Moses, you are going to do this." Because when God says go, you can't say no. You can try. Look at Jonah. Really worked well for him. He ended up in the belly of a whale for 3 days. And then God said, "Okay, let's try this again." When God says go, you can't say no. Even if you try, you can run the other way. God's going to find you. He's going to beat you there. All right? And so Moses takes his family, and off they go to Egypt. Moses goes before Pharaoh. Now, can you imagine how nervous Moses must be?
Yeah.
Moses used to live there. Imagine doing something horrible in Linden where everyone at Linden Christian School basically hates you. And then you leave for many years and you come back to this school. Would you be nervous to talk to people here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine how Moses feels, like going back to this place where, okay, last time I was here, I killed someone. I never had to go to prison for it. I ran before they could do anything. So he goes before Pharaoh, and he says to Pharaoh,
Let my people go.
exactly,
Let my people go.
I have a message from God, the great I am, the great Almighty God, not your Egyptian gods that you worship, but my God, the God of the Hebrews. And the God of the Hebrews says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that. Nope, I'm not going to do that. So in order to show God's power, Moses walks down to the river, puts his staff in the river, and the water turns
To blood.
to blood. Alrighty, the water turns to blood as a way to show this is how powerful the God of the Hebrews is. Now you know the rest of the story. You know that they try this 9 times. 9 times Pharaoh says no. And the Bible tells us his heart was hardened. His heart was hardened, right? Absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. So 9 times Moses went to Pharaoh and said, let my people go. And 9 times Pharaoh said no. And 9 times after Pharaoh said no, God sent something horrible to the people. And they called those plagues. They called those plagues. All right? So you guys know, okay, the first one was water to blood. I don't know the order. Okay? And sometimes when I try to list all 10, I forget a few. Okay? But you know that there were flies, lice, frogs, hail, boils, dead cattle.
Every firstborn son died.
No, we're not that far yet. The 9th one was darkness. What am I missing?
Oh, I know. Grasshoppers.
Yes, locusts. There we go, locusts. Okay, so I don't know the order, but I know the first and I know the 9th. All right, because the 9th plague, God said darkness over Lily, who's talking. Okay, because if I can hear you, they can hear you on the camera. Okay, so you need to stop interrupting, please. You're not on fire. Okay, and you're not my mom surprising me from Iowa. Okay? Okay, so where was I? Okay, so for 3 days, God sent darkness over the land. Now, this isn't just like when the sun goes down and the moon comes up and you have your nightlight on in your bedroom. This is like you can't see your hand in front of your face. Like a thick darkness over the land.
I would be in my bed.
And then
Not like.
Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, for the 10th time. Let me hear you. Everyone's going to say it in all the classes. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Let my people go.
And for the 10th time, Pharaoh says
No.
no. Now this time. Okay, I'm actually going to move this up a little bit because I realize how far away I am now that I'm not. Is that better? There we go. Okay. This time, God has a very special message for the Hebrews. So Moses tells the Hebrews, all right, you can't sit this one out. This time you have to participate. So, this is what I need you to do. You need to go and you need to find a perfect, spotless lamb. You need to slaughter that lamb. Okay, catch the blood of the lamb in a bowl and then take some kind of brush, which would be, okay, now I'm suddenly having a hyssop, okay, a hyssop branch, and you're going to use that, and you're going to spread the blood over your doorpost. Okay, so along your doorpost, and then you're going to go inside, and you're going to stay there. Because during the night, I, the Lord your God, am going to send death, the angel of death, and the angel of death is going to make its way through all of the streets in Egypt. And it's going to enter every single home, and it's going to take the breath of the firstborn son. But if you have blood from the lamb on your doorpost, that angel of death is going to pass over your house. So immediately, the Egyptians, or not the Egyptians, sorry, the Hebrews, God's people, okay, they do as they're told. They kill a lamb, they catch the blood, they use the hyssop branch, and they paint around their doorposts, and they go inside, and they wait. Okay? Yes, they do. They have their meal, they eat the lamb. Okay, I'm getting to that. And they wait. Now, can you imagine how quiet it was in Egypt until that spirit of death appeared? And when that angel of death moved through Egypt, and one by one took a breath, took a breath, took a breath, took a breath. And as each house lost their firstborn son, the wails started. Not whales in water. What am I talking about? Wails. Crying. As mothers and fathers discovered that their oldest son was no longer living, there was great weeping and mourning and wailing in all of Egypt, including Pharaoh. The palace. Because you see, Pharaoh had a son, and he didn't have the blood of the lamb. And so when the spirit of death entered Pharaoh's palace, it took the breath and the life of his son, his only son. And then, can you imagine being Moses and walking into that palace the next morning, facing the man that you know is Pharaoh, and Pharaoh looks at you with hatred in his eyes and says, "Take your people and get out. Go." And it says they did it in haste. So like Everett said earlier, well, you have to pack. Okay, not today. Nope, they got to get out fast. Okay, so they packed up their stuff incredibly fast, and they left that very same day, and out they went out of Egypt. Okay, we're talking thousands and thousands of people together, right? They packed very quickly, and they left Egypt. Except here's the thing, boys and girls. They don't have anywhere to go. So where does God send them?
To the promised land.
No.
In the desert for 40 years.
He sends them to the very place that they have come to fear. The very place that they have been taught is chaos. He sends them to the wilderness. And then he's going to leave them there for 40 years. He's going to take them to the very place that they've been taught is bad. But it's there that God is going to do his best work with his people. And that's where we're going to pick up, I think tomorrow. Is it Wednesday today? Yeah. Yes, tomorrow. We will pick up tomorrow. And we're going to talk about that land between and what happens when we struggle with God, when our hearts and our minds are in the wilderness. All right? All right. Miss K out.